Since the dawn of time, man has asked but one simple question: which 16-bit version of Robocop vs Terminator is the best? Is it the SNES? Or is it the Genesis? I think it's common knowledge at this point, or at least a common consensus, that the Genesis version, or Mega Drive, is actually the best version of this game. I've never really sunk a lot of time into either of them, so I thought, you know, let's figure it out. Let's see where the truth lies. Now, regardless of which version of this game you play, it's bloody dark. I'll give it that. So, off the bat, before I really get into the action of this, the SNES version is much, much slower paced than the Genesis one. Whereas the Genesis one's like a frenetic action game, this is a more methodical experience. And, well, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'll let you decide. For me, it's kind of bad. What they've got off the bat is the little Robocop footsteps sound. You hear that? Isn't that cool? Very authentic. So let's get rolling here. So it's one of those games where when you get hit by an enemy projectile, your character's going to jump back a little bit. And in later levels, actually what the hell am I talking about? In every level, that's a giant pain in the ass. Because anytime you're climbing a ladder, or you're trying to make a jump on a platform, and you get hit by a projectile, it's going to knock you off course and cause you to drop down a hole and probably lose some progress, which is super annoying. But on the plus side, you get to murder hookers, so you know. Swings and roundabouts, I believe is the expression. I don't recall one of Robocop's prime directives being... Well, what were they?
Serve the public trust, protect the innocent, uphold the law.
Serve the public trust, protect the innocent, eviscerate hookers? Was that it? Something along those lines, but that's certainly what he's doing here. So, yeah, visually it's all a bit dull, as you might expect. It's kind of notorious for not being as violent as the Genesis version, and I assumed, having never sunk a lot of time into either of them, one of the biggest pet peeves and one of the reasons people prefer the Genesis version is just because it's more violent. Similar to how people prefer the Genesis version of Mortal Kombat 1, even though the SNES one plays better, but obviously it's got all of the fatalities gutted out of it, or at least all of the gore, which was completely lame. There's some odd choices in this game. Straight off the bat, when you kill the guys, there is no sound, they just explode. When you kill the women, they scream. Just seems a little bit fucked up. Check this out. Drive-by rescue by the Terminator. So, frustratingly, the music in this game really is quite unremarkable, which is a bit depressing. Because a lot of 16-bit games, in my opinion, sort of live and die by the soundtrack. I mean, I play a lot of bad... Actually, I play a lot of bad games, period, but I'll play a lot of bad games just because they've got a great soundtrack. This game does not have a great soundtrack, but it is a bad game. I can tell you that much. So let me explain a little bit more about the controls. It's a three-button game. There's jump, there is change weapon, and there is shoot. If you move and shoot, you've got full freedom of movement like that. If you shoot before you start moving, it'll lock you in place, so it gives you a little bit more precision there, which I imagine comes in handy for some of the bosses, one of which I will encounter shortly. But one of the sort of key differences between this and the Genesis one, and I've seen a lot of comparison videos where they don't bother to voice over and kind of explain anything, so people will look at it and say like, oh, I don't know why the SNES version gets bad rap, looks alright to me, which is fine. But if you actually play it and then play the Genesis one, it's just night and day. This is just agony. Ugh. I'm about to die at the hands of Ed 209 here. Shit. And there he goes, look. Gently falls to his death. So the level layout in both actually seems quite similar, or at least the assets and the environments. But again, it's what you do with those assets and environments. This, I think, one of the things that's most fascinating about this game is, on the surface, it does look the same, but one of them is great and one of them is just total trash. So let me, hopefully, try and get to Ed 209 again. Ooh, Ed 209, by the way, behind this box, this indestructible box. Get used to that. There he is, look. There's a very specific way to beat him. I think it's just do the opposite of what he's doing. So when he's up, you go down. The thing I hate most about him is this. Suicidal legs. Yes, that's a thing. But now I've got his turret, which is kind of cool. So I think that's actually the end of this level. But this level right here is where I really started to lose my shit with this game. For reasons like that, just continually falling down holes. Now, obviously, part of that's on me, because, you know, being clumsy and terrible at games. But at the same time, the challenge in this game comes from basically pissing you off. So you're going to be knocked back, you're going to fall down holes, you're going to have to climb, there you go, you have to climb up a ladder you've already climbed up 6 times to get somewhere again that you've already been, because you got hit in the head by a fucking pole. God damn it. So these are the platforming sections, if you want to call them that. Let's drop down here. Oh, by the way, these crates are your friends, and they often contain items. Actually, I'll take that back, they rarely contain items, but there's a chance they might, so they're worth collecting. There's just something about the design of this entire game, and it feels like... It feels like they had a checklist. It's like an alien race came down to Earth and they had to make a game, and they've got a bullet point list of what a game is. It's got to have a character, it's got to have a jump button, it's got to have a gun, it's got to have things that fall down, it's got to have things that shoot at you. None of it has any finesse, none of it has any style, none of it feels particularly cohesive. It's just, we had to make a game, so we made a game. And here it is. Whereas the Genesis version actually feels like this, I hesitate to say slickly produced, but it is so much more cohesive. Like, it feels like it knew what it wanted to be, and it succeeds at that. This game, ugh. So here we go. Here's another fun thing. So also I shot that box too much. So you're supposed to shoot it down so you can platform across it. If you shoot it too much, you can destroy it. Now in classic sort of 8-bit fashion, you need to leave the screen so that that bit can respawn. So I need to go all the way over here. So it should definitely reload now. There we go. So that's fine. And again, you might say, why am I complaining about that when it's a sort of typical bit of game design, I guess? It's because it's just unnecessary, and it just pads it out in a way that's boring and frustrating rather than satisfying. This game is just the video game personification of lethargy. It's just so dull. So here's an example of that. Like, the first time I did this, and again, a lot of side-scrollers are trial and error, but I accidentally blasted that box to smithereens. And if you don't know that sort of fundamental law of 8-bit, 16-bit games, that you need to leave a screen to have something to respawn, you'll be stood here like, how the hell do I get past? Again, just tremendous game design. It's not often that I play an old game and just actively hate it or dislike it to a particular degree, and I did again, but this is an exception. Like, I can find fun in most old games, and to be honest, I can find a level of fun in this, but good God. I was thinking about this as well in context to the Power Rangers comparison I put up before this for Power Rangers the movie on the SNES and the Mega Drive. It's a really weird thing, because when I was a kid, I played Sonic the Hedgehog, I'd played Super Mario World, Super Metroid, all the classics, all the big name games. And I thought the SNES was better, and I still do, because I just think it had better games as a whole. But if you lived in this sort of vacuum where your only experience of both consoles was playing the different versions of Robocop vs Terminator and the different versions of Power Rangers the movie, it's like comparing the Atari Jaguar to the original PlayStation. Like, one of them's just a pile of shit, and that's the impression you'd have of the SNES. It's quite fascinating to think about that, because people have so much nostalgia for the SNES, and rightly so, it's completely brilliant. But if you played the right games, the right multi-platform games, you could easily have the opinion that the SNES is just a pile of crap. As a kid, I just assumed everything on the SNES was better. Because some games are better, they were all better, right? To me, as a rule, visually and in terms of audio, the SNES was always superior, so it's like the more powerful machine. Therefore, any game that's going to be on that machine is going to take advantage of that and be better. So it's kind of oblivious to the fact that you can make a bad game on any system. That was something that was lost from my mind as a child. And now I'm painfully aware of that fact because holy shit, look at this thing. I don't believe this is even the worst Robocop offering on the SNES. I think Robocop 3 is supposed to be a total atrocity as well. So at the moment I've got this laser pistol, which, you know, just weapon sounds in this game, not that great. Another thing that's just a bit of a letdown. I feel there's ways that you can kind of maybe compensate or maybe even disguise a crummy game, right? Give it an amazing soundtrack, boom. Give it some really visceral sound effects, give it some violence. And the Genesis version of this game kind of checks most of those boxes. The gameplay is good, I think. It's not great, but it's good on the Genesis version. But when you accompany that with the sort of the violence and the cool sound effects, like, it raises it up to a whole nother level. This game has nothing to compensate for its bad gameplay. Everything about it is just mediocrity. And giant bits of metal to the head. And I said, you know, you get to kill hookers. You'd think that would be fun. It's not. Yeah, Robocop in this game is depicted as just this clumsy, tired, worn-out, slow piece of crap. Not how I remember him in the film. There was a moment in the film where that was the case. Is it the first one where he gets chopped up to a million pieces in the scrapyard and he's a magnet to kind of pick him up? That's what he feels like. This game feels like the disembodied components of Robocop, but not the awesome collective killing machine that he can actually be. It's just awful. Ugh. Okay, here we go. Imagine getting this as a kid, right? Imagine you've gone around your friend's house who's got a Genesis, and you've played Robocop vs. Terminator, and you're like, holy crap, I'm fucking 10 years old, this is what I want for Christmas, this is amazing, oh my god. And your parents buy it for you, and you end up with this pile of shit. Good god. You want to talk about killing your childhood? Alright, so I think this is actually the first encounter in the game with the Terminator. Now, the Terminator, as you may recall from the movie, notoriously, one of their characteristics other than trying to, you know, destroy the world through Skynet and take over, they loved firing at walls for no reason. They were, like, so into that. I don't know why. It's never explained in the fiction, but they've got that here, so that's a pretty accurate depiction there. I think, if I remember rightly, I can just... There is an angle where I can get him here. Is it cheap? Yes. Am I going to do it regardless? Absolutely. Now, he'll get up, like, maybe 5 or 6 times until he's actually dead. But I'm just going to spam this and take him out. Now, I'm not going to use this kind of thing as a criticism against this game because, honestly, anything that gets you through it quicker is a good thing. Oh, she got me. Oh, God. So I found a cool way to... Oh, a cool way. A cheesy way to kill him was this. Last time I played this level, he just crouched in the corner and couldn't move. But again, why does he take this many rounds to kill? What the hell is the point? Oh, what fun we had. Now I can get the one up. Oh, no, I can't. We've changed level. Right, this level, let's have a look. I haven't played much this one. This one looks better. This looks more interesting. Less bland. What have we got? Maybe some new gameplay elements. Look at that. Oh, It's not new, it was in the other levels, but these little travelators weren't, so that's cool. What have we got? Doors closed, so I guess maybe I have to go up here and kill those guys first. Do you know what's amazing about the soundtrack to this game? Like, I dare you to walk away from this humming one of these songs. It's like they composed music that's impossible for the human brain to remember. It's so weird. Not quite sure what the deal is with these guys. I mean, I guess you have to get... Oh, there you go. Kind of lure them. Alright, so... Okay, I guess I just pressed that terminal, so now I go through... Oh, go through here. Oh, dear God, no, there's a little bomb thing. Not having that. Ah, Jesus. If you do want to play a cool side-scrolling shooting game for the SNES that you probably haven't played already, Turrican 2, Super Turrican 2, holy crap, it's amazing. It genuinely is amazing. There's like Mode 7 effects, there's fantastic gameplay mechanics, there's diversity in the levels, it's really good. Having said that, apparently this game also has its share of diversity, because I did watch a playthrough before I took a stab at this, and there's actually some 3D sections, or some faux 3D sections, which I wouldn't mind reaching, but can't help but doubt that I ever will. These little spider bombs, straight from the movie. I'm just going to jump through it. No, I'm going to die. That's even better. So one of the gameplay features of this game is that you can fall down holes. No, you can actually, for the most part, you can just destroy enemy projectiles. So that's a good way to protect yourself. It's a great way to protect yourself if you've actually got some... Oh, shit. I really need to stop rushing through. It's a great way to protect yourself if you've got, like... I don't know, the grenade launcher or something that's got a good rate of fire and a good amount of damage. There we go. You see I shot his little pea shooter thing there. This game is like, I don't know, like... Some games are power fantasies. This is like an... Some games are power fantasies, and this is like a senior citizen fantasy. Like, this is what it's like to feel elderly. You don't know what's going on, you can barely move. Things you thought you'd easily be able to do have become inexplicably difficult, and that's not even a word. See, it even affects your ability to speak. It is exactly like old age. Inexplicably, I like that one. See, if this isn't fun, then honestly I don't know what is. Look at that. Having a great time, just playing Robocop versus Terminator, who I've seen once. Laying it on thick with the Terminator, aren't they? Alright. The parallels between this and those two Power Ranger games I reviewed are actually... There's almost like a one-to-one, right? This gameplay is slow and methodical. It's all about positioning, being in the right place at the right time. Whereas the Genesis version of the Power Rangers game and the Genesis version of this game is all about just kicking ass, moving around the screen really quick. Ugh. It's almost as though there is a blueprint for bad games, irregardless of genres. I mean, that might sound like a dumb thing to say, but there is. And this is a prime example of that. Guess I gotta go down there. With my low health, this is... Oh no! Dead again. Right, so I think we've seen just about enough of the Super Nintendo version of this game. Now let's switch over to the Genesis one and see what that has to offer. welcome. Right off the gate, this game actually has a difficulty setting. Oh look, it's ended up there by default. By default. So I'm playing it in Wimpy because I suck at these games anyway, and it's even harder to play in talk. So let's just run with that. Right, here we go. Oh, look how fucking much faster he moves. Now he doesn't have his little footstep sounds, which I quite liked, but the beat of this song, there's almost like I think they call it like a train beat. It's almost like a walking pace to it, and that'll do. There's a rhythm to this game, and there's also visceral, horrible violence. It's wonderful. This is Robocop versus Terminator. That other thing, I don't know what the hell it was. Look at that. See, again, like an immediate difference here, right? I want to shoot these dudes because they explode in a horrible fashion, and it's tremendous. Like, I have a reason to kill the enemies other than just to progress, because I want to see that shit. It's cool. The gun sound effects are way more aggressive, way more distorted. I mean, that's down to the Genesis sound chips again, but it just sounds awesome. Listen to that thing. Nice bit of muzzle flash. So this is also a free button game, although obviously it's the Genesis, so it has to be. You fire, you jump, and you switch weapons. So at the moment, I've only got the default pistol. I need to pay more attention to not taking damage here. Look at it, little bits of newspaper flying around. I love it. This game just sets a tone, and it's fucking phenomenal. It also has sexy 90s dance music, which is good, I guess. I'll tell you what, it might not necessarily be good, but it's distinct and unique, and actually memorable. And very sexy. Now this is quite hilarious, watch this. For some reason he accelerates the longer you're on these things. I don't know why that is, but it's fucking hilarious. This gun's badass. Look at it. So I feel like just from the little I've played of this, there is a much bigger focus on killing people and destruction. Whereas the other game's all about just navigating through the environment and obviously boring you to tears, which it does a great job of. There he goes in a pile of goo. So no Ed 209 battle in the first level. But one thing it did have that the Super Nintendo version didn't was actual fun. Oh, and you know what? I immediately just want to play more of this game. That is a quality that the SNES one does not possess. Holy shit. Alright, so the weird thing about this game, having dabbled a little in game development myself, this looks like a bug that they probably thought, you know what, that's actually kind of cool. So when you fire these, they could gravitate around Robocop. Now the excuse, fiction, with regards to the fiction is, oh, he's a robot, he's made of metal, they're made of metal. He's magnetic, they're drawn towards him. I don't think that was the case. I think that's a bug, and they were just like, this is actually kind of cool. But it is, look at them just weave around. It's ridiculous. But it's good, they kind of act as a shield, so when you're as terrible at games as I, that's very helpful. That's another thing I like about this game. Look at the speed at which he climbs the ladders. It's like he's running along hot coals, just like, oh, damn. That's goddamn hot metal, man. We got here? We've got the tomato gun from Contra, because why not? Like it. And in this version of the game, you also get to rescue what I presume are hostages. There we go. I don't know who's tied them up. I also don't know who we're fighting here. I suppose in these games you're just killing generic street scum rather than anything to do with the Terminator universe. So already within the first 2 levels I've had like 4 guns and they're all fucking awesome and so satisfying. Look at the blood splatter in the windows. What is not to like about this game? Oh look, even tells you where to go. Oh my god. The future is here. I love that. That's a game in itself right there. I don't know why in a game where you play as Robocop, we've got a sexy song playing, repeating the words Terminator over and over again. But there you go. Maybe that's his fetish. Maybe he's into Terminators. See, you don't know that, do you? What does versus mean in this context? I mean, he has got, like, you know, pretty sure his lower torso and his, you know, his member were blown apart in Robocop. However, if you recall, he does have that sort of somewhat phallic thing that comes out of his fist. Who's to know what Terminators are into? That could be an ideal fit, a perfect fit. The two guns I want are the pea shooter, and I don't even know what it's called. It's like the one that fires multiple swarming shells. Definitely my favourite gun in this game so far. One of the things I noticed is missing from both these games is, you know, like the iconic Terminator and Robocop themes. Like, neither of them seem to appear in this. I don't know if that's... I feel like the Robocop versus Terminator thing might be its own license that's tied to comics. So, you know, when you pay for that, I guess you don't get the music as well, because that's strictly for the films, which is kind of a bummer, because I would like to hear a sexy remix of the Robocop theme. Right, this... Oh, there he is, the Terminator. It's not here 209. Wrong again. Shit. See, I'm not just crapping on the SNES one. This is also not the most involved fight ever. Mostly to do with the fact that I've got this wonderfully overpowered weapon. It's like he's spraying for bugs or something, but instead he's wiping out a killing machine. Nice. Remember when he said that in the films? Yeah, probably didn't, did he? So the Genesis game has one of these like audio issues where sound effects don't always trigger. So if, for instance, if you've got a machine gun, you kind of expect it to rattle off constantly, but it seems to miss certain sounds. Whether or not that's because they can only play a certain number of audio clips at once, and the enemies are shooting you and shit's getting smashed and blown up, I don't know. But that is the thing. That's something I remember from the SNES days. Like, I always loved the Mega Man soundtracks, like anyone does. But there are times in those games where, when other soundtracks are triggered, one of the audio, or one of the music channels will have to cut out to let that play. It's kind of odd. So the platforming in this game is way easier, and perhaps more importantly, it's just more accommodating than the SNES version. So with the SNES one, you have to have pinpoint accuracy or you're falling down off a ledge. With this one, if you're near the ledge when you make your jump, it will correct you, it'll kind of snap you to it, and you'll still make the jump. So it makes for a much more fluid gameplay, because it's not constantly getting started and stopped and started and stopped every time you miss by a millimeter. It's very good. So also in the SNES one, you may remember these flames. If you get hit by them in that, it'll jump you back. Hit by them in this, it'll just drain your health all the time you're making contact with it. But it will not knock you back, thank God. Also, he climbs those ropes at ridiculous speed as well. That's amazing. Right. Let's jump down and kill. I do actually remember playing this as a kid and not being that impressed with it. But that's predominantly because I was poisoned with, an infinite level of SNES bias and loyalty. Such a weird thing. But moving back to the power fantasy thing, like this is a power fantasy. I feel like such a goddamn badass. Like, I'm strutting through the streets, obliterating everything in my path, literally turning it to liquid. A red, viscous liquid. It's wonderful. And in the SNES version, he's a frail whale, isn't he? He looks like he's built amazingly well, but he's absolutely puny, pathetic, and basically moves around like a character out of the Elder Scrolls games that's over encumbered just at all times. And that ain't cool, man. That ain't cool. Ain't no one like to be over encumbered. Shit, so I've died there, and here you go. He gets back up. Also, you can destroy security cameras in this, which I don't think you could in the SNES version. You know, not the most important detail, but I like extra bits around the environment that you can blow up or knock about or whatever. It just makes you feel more connected to the game world. And it's fun. Like shooting the crates in the SNES version. I just like to shoot random inanimate shit, because fuck that inanimate shit. It's done nothing to me, but it might try. And before it does, I'm going to destroy it. I like a bit of baby food. So this guy, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is Kane from Robocop 2. So that's cool. It's got the characters from the actual Robocop universe, other than Ed 209. The one everyone knows. I don't know why I'm using this gun. Oh, shit. Also don't know why I'm walking into him. Crap! Oh god, don't take my gun. They've taken my gun, haven't they? This is actually an easy boss battle that I'm just screwing up. So you literally just wait for him to walk across and then jump. Jump to this one. Jump over there. You do have to make sure you're completely in line with the ladder on there. Oops, X-axis, because you won't just jump to it for some reason. I don't know why that is. The only thing about this game's traversal that annoys me, it's kind of illustrated in this boss battle. It seems less forgiving in the boss battles than it did in the main game. Also, we've lost the music. I don't think that's by design. Don't know what's happened there. So if you remember Kane from the movie Robocop 2, if this is in fact the Kane I think of, he was like a teenage drug lord. No, wait, no, he's not a teenage drug lord, is he? Kane was some fucking scumbag gangster who... I think the bad guys, some bad guys, the evil scientists, got him to sort of opt into their experiment. I don't think he knew what was going to happen, being a psychotic bad guy, but basically they cut out his brain and stuck it in a robot. And that was Kane. The crazy robot that was out to kill Robocop. Robocop 2, I like Robocop 2. It's kind of a disaster, but it's entertaining regardless. It's got children dealing drugs. It's got its own invented drug called Narc. It's got a man's brain in a jar that gets put in a robot. I think, in fact, I believe in that film at one point, Robocop himself does some drugs. I can't remember how. Basically, someone drugs him. It's fantastic. It's comedy gold. Also, it's got some connectivity to Frank Miller. I can't quite recall what. I feel like he wrote the script, and then Paramount or whoever put out the movie read that script and they're like, dude, this is bullshit. So a heavily revised version of that script was actually what made it into Robocop 2. But it's fascinating nonetheless. I will say, don't watch Robocop 3 because, oh my god, garbage. Not to overuse the expression, you know, things that will murder your childhood, but good God, it's bad. It's another fascinating thing if you think about the 90s. There were these films, so Robocop 1 and Terminator 1 and 2, both 18s. They're graphic as hell, like they're just horrifying. But there was a massively successful line of merchandise aimed at kids. Toys, figures, t-shirts, baseball caps, whatever the fuck, of Robocop and Terminator. Like, that's such a bizarre and fascinating thing, especially nowadays where the whole world's just become pussified. What an amazing thing. I remember I had a Terminator action figure where, you know, half of his face was blown off. You can see bits of torn flesh, and that's just the toy. That's just what it was. So I like that this level here, you get a nice different environment, complete palette change. Makes it up a little bit. I do like the dark, gritty city streets of the first stage, but you know, oh god, you don't want the same thing all day long. And this level looks pretty cool. Good god, the difficulty has gone up and up and up. So this is definitely one of those games where if you die and lose your weapons, it is so much harder to get through it with the standard loadout. Like, oh my god. You gotta make mincemeat of the enemies when you've got the powered up weapons, but if using his default shooter like I am, it's a mare. This is the kind of thing where I imagine people would do speed runs of it using the Konami dance mat, only using the P shooter. That strikes me as that's probably a thing. Again, the goal with these videos isn't to show you like the definitive comparison. It's literally a case of let's just remove the split screen comparison and actually add the human element of someone trying to play these games and see which actually plays better. Because like I said, like if you compare these games side by side visually, they look pretty even. But I think the conclusion here really is There, once again, is a clear winner, and it's the Genesis version of the game. I don't doubt that you can have a level of fun with the SNES one, but you know, you can make anything fun, right? You can have a couple of twigs and a ball of string, and you can have the time of your life. But in all fairness, wouldn't you much rather be playing a good game than a pretty garbage game? If the answer to that is yes, then the clear winner here is Robocop vs Terminator 4, the Sega Genesis. You've made it to the end of the video. Brilliant. If you enjoyed this video, maybe consider seeing a therapist. But before you do, why not watch another, and another, and another.